When you think of Antarctica, you might picture endless white landscapes and towering icebergs, but beneath that frozen surface lies a hidden world of jaw-dropping surprises. Recent scientific investigations have uncovered secrets that challenge everything we thought we knew about Earth's most isolated continent. From secret lakes that have been locked away for millions of years, to underground mountain ranges and even active volcanoes. Our first discovery takes us to Lake Vostok, one of the largest subglacial lakes in the world. Buried under nearly 4 kilometers of ice, this hidden reservoir has been isolated from the surface for an estimated 15 to 25 million years. Scientists are fascinated by its unique environment, as it's like a natural time capsule where ancient water and possibly even undiscovered microbial life have been preserved away from the outside world. Advanced radar and ice-penetrating sonar have mapped its dimensions, revealing a vast, still body of water that challenges our understanding of life's adaptability. Researchers believe that by studying Lake Vostok, we could gain insights into how life might survive in extreme conditions, not just on Earth, but also on other icy worlds, like Jupiter's moon, Europa. Next up, deep beneath the Antarctic ice, lies a mountain range you'd never expect to find: the Gamburtsev Mountains. Discovered through sophisticated radar surveys during the Cold War era, these mountains are roughly the same size as the European Alps, yet they remain completely concealed beneath thousands of meters of ice. Their formation played a crucial role in shaping the Antarctic ice sheet, acting as a sort of seed around which the ice would accumulate. What makes the Gamburtsev Mountains so intriguing is not only their size, but also their geological complexity. These ancient peaks may hold clues to the continent's past climate, tectonic movements, and even the processes that led to the formation of the icy landscape we see today. Antarctica isn't just a frozen wasteland, it's also a land of hidden fire. Scientists have uncovered evidence of active subglacial volcanoes beneath the ice, particularly in West Antarctica. These volcanoes, unlike the well-known Mount Erebus on Ross Island, lie completely under the ice sheet and have been detected by unusual heat signatures and seismic activity. The geothermal energies from these volcanoes can melt the base of the ice, potentially influencing how the ice flows and even contributing to the formation of subglacial lakes. Understanding these volcanic hotspots is crucial, not only for piecing together Antarctica's geological past, but also for predicting future changes in the ice sheet dynamics that could have global implications. Imagine a network of rivers winding beneath a colossal ice sheet. Sounds kind of like something out of a movie, right? But that is exactly what scientists have found. Beneath the Antarctic ice, hidden channels and rivers transport meltwater from the surface to subglacial lakes and back again. One prominent example is the Whillans subglacial river system, a complex drainage network that plays a key role in shaping the overlying ice's movement. Using radar imaging and satellite data, researchers have been able to map these intricate water systems, which not only influence the flow of the ice, but also create potential habitats for unique microbial communities. These secret rivers are a reminder that even in the coldest, most isolated places on Earth, liquid water and the life it can support finds a way. There is a wild conspiracy theory floating around that claims Antarctica hides an ancient, lush forest beneath its ice, a relic from a time when the continent was warm and green. Let's unpack this idea. It is a fact that Antarctica wasn't always the frozen desert we see today. During the era of Gondwana, parts of the continent boasted flourishing forests, and fossilized wood and plant remnants discovered in exposed regions confirm this verdant past. However, these findings date back tens of millions of years. They're evidence of ancient ecosystems, not a currently living forest preserved under the ice. Some conspiracy theorists point to unusual radar reflections and satellite imagery as proof of modern-day vegetation hidden beneath the ice. In reality, these anomalous signals are most likely the result of unique rock formations, subglacial water channels, or even variations in the ice itself, not patches of ancient trees or under-ice canopies. No credible scientific study has provided evidence to support the existence of a preserved extant forest under Antarctica today. One of the most thrilling discoveries beneath Antarctica is the existence of thriving microbial ecosystems in places once thought too harsh for life. In subglacial lakes like Vostok and Whillans, scientists have detected microbial communities that survive in complete darkness, extreme cold, and under crushing pressure. These extremophiles use chemical energy from minerals, a process known as chemosynthesis, to thrive in an environment devoid of sunlight. Studying these resilient organisms not only deepens our understanding of life's boundaries on Earth, but also opens up fascinating possibilities for finding life on other icy worlds. Their unique adaptations might even hold clues to ancient evolutionary pathways, offering a glimpse into how life can persist under the most unlikely circumstances. Beneath the surface of Antarctica, ice cores serve as frozen archives of our planet's climate history. Scientists drill deep into the ice to extract cylinders that contain layers deposited over hundreds of thousands of years. These ice cores trap tiny bubbles of ancient air, volcanic ash, and even cosmic dust, providing an unparalleled record of Earth's past atmospheric conditions. By analyzing these layers, researchers can reconstruct temperature changes, greenhouse gas concentrations, and even periods of intense volcanic activity. This meticulous work has been instrumental in understanding how Earth's climate has evolved over millennia, offering critical insights into current climate change trends and helping predict future shifts in our global environment. While the icy surface of Antarctica may appear uniform, the geology beneath it tells a much more complex story. Detailed geophysical surveys have revealed unexpected rock formations and the presence of rare minerals that hint at a dynamic geological past. In areas like the Gamburtsev Mountains, scientists have identified metamorphic rocks that were formed under extreme pressure and temperature conditions, suggesting that parts of Antarctica were once subjected to tectonic forces similar to those that form major mountain ranges elsewhere in the world. These findings not only challenge our preconceptions about Antarctica's geological history, but also open up new avenues of research into the processes that shape our planet during its most formative years. It's a reminder that even the most remote corners of Earth can surprise us with their rich, hidden stories. Antarctica isn't just a treasure trove of terrestrial secrets, it's also one of the best places on Earth to find meteorites. Thanks to the continent's dry, cold conditions and moving ice, meteorites that fall to the surface often become exposed in blue ice fields, where they stand out against the white background. Scientists have recovered hundreds of these space rocks, which provide invaluable clues about the early solar system and the building blocks of our own planet. Some of these meteorites are so well preserved that they allow researchers to analyze the isotopic composition and the mineral content of materials that predate Earth's formation. These extraterrestrial visitors offer a rare glimpse into our cosmic past and underscore the role Antarctica plays as a natural repository of the universe's ancient history. Our final discovery brings us back to the microscopic world, where complex chemical interactions create thriving ecosystems under the ice. This hidden web of life is sustained by energy sources such as iron, sulfur, and even heat from nearby volcanic activity. The resulting ecosystems are not only fascinating in their own right, but also serve as analogs for potential life in similar extreme environments beyond Earth. As researchers continue to uncover the intricate biogeochemical cycles at work beneath Antarctica, they're challenging our understanding of what it takes to sustain life in the harshest conditions. These findings may one day help us to identify signs of life on icy moons and exoplanets, expanding our horizons far beyond our own planet.
Alright, first things first, what is the Piri-Reis map? Well, it's a world map drawn on gazelle skin written in 1513 that really shouldn't exist. Why? Well, because it depicts recently discovered places and even undiscovered places with a surprising amount of accuracy, which is of course virtually impossible, but somehow it's possible. I mean, clearly it's possible, the thing exists, doesn't it? But like how? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is believed that the map was created using 8 Greco-Roman maps, 4 Portuguese maps, an Arabic map, and 1 drawn by Christopher Columbus himself. Today the map, which supposedly discovered and described Antarctica centuries before anyone else in the world, is kept in Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. Well, part of it is. You see, the entire map has never been viewed in modern times, only 1/3 of it. The rest is yet to be found. It makes you wonder though, what else could we have gotten wrong about our history? Maybe one day we'll find out?
The Piri-Reis map was discovered by accident in 1929 during renovations at the Topkapi Palace in Turkey. The palace was being converted into a museum when researchers stumbled on it tucked away in a dusty corner. What they found was a fragment of an ancient world map by Ottoman admiral named Piri-Reis. Piri-Reis was not only a skilled sailor but also a cartographer, and he had meticulously compiled this map using, as Hannah described, a number of older maps. The parts of the map that still exist show parts of Europe, Africa, the Americas, and of course, Antarctica, potentially. We'll get to that in a bit though. And for a map created over 500 years ago, this is pretty amazing, as Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820 and wasn't mapped out until later, so there are tons of questions and theories surrounding the Piri-Reis map. Does it contain knowledge from some lost ancient civilization or aliens? How's the thing so advanced? Now that you have some context, we're to get into the weeds.
Alright, let's talk about continental drift, shall we? That's right, according to the Piri-Reis map, at one point in time, Antarctica was actually not all that cold, and also it was connected to South America, which is insane, but not in the way you think. The idea that Antarctica was once connected to South America makes total sense. I mean, the world used to consist of one single landmass that eventually broke away to form continents. What's insane is that the map was able to depict that. Now, I previously mentioned that Antarctica wasn't discovered until long after this map was completed, but perhaps it was. It just wasn't its own thing yet. I mean, it's entirely possible. And it's not like the map shows a frigid Antarctica nestled up next to the subtropical South Americas. The two appear to share the same climate and weather patterns. There is no ice depicted on Antarctica in this map, but more on that after this.
One of the biggest mysteries about the Piri-Reis map is its lines. Now, the map doesn't have the latitude and longitude lines you see on modern maps, which run east, west, north, and south. Today, we can measure longitude and latitude accurately using GPS and precise clocks, but in the early 1500s, when this map was created, this was almost impossible. The problem with measuring longitude back then was that it required knowing the exact time at 2 different places simultaneously. Sailors could measure latitude using the sun and stars, but without a reliable way to keep track of time, determining longitude was a huge challenge. The invention that finally solved this problem was the marine chronometer, which was a special clock that kept accurate time at sea, but this wasn't invented until about 200 years after Piri-Reis created his map. But the Piri-Reis map does have what are called azimuth lines, which end up being strangely very accurate to modern maps, to the point where it seems virtually impossible for the map to have been created when it was. So, how did Piri-Reis manage to create a map with such accuracy for the time? Well, we'll be getting into theories in a bit.
Alright, let's get back to climate, specifically Antarctica's climate, and even more specifically, Antarctica's climate at the time in which this map was created. A climate that was subtropical and supported a lush rainforest filled with various coniferous trees, flowering plants, giant mushrooms, and animals. While this might sound crazy to some, the map shows Antarctica connected to the subtropical region of South America, so it must be true. Well, no, an ancient map does not the truth make. But what does prove the existence of an ancient rainforest existing in Antarctica and also validate the Piri-Reis map is a core sample taken by scientists in Antarctica in 2017 that shows every layer of sediment that has settled on the continent over the past 90 million years, give or take. Ancient root systems perfectly preserved in soil samples along with traces of pollen, spores, and the remains of flowering plants were all found in the core sample. From this, scientists were able to determine what the weather would have been like in order to support such a wide range of life. Heavy rainfall and heightened levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, i.e., it would have been a rainforest.
Now, the pieces of the map we still have today don't show Antarctica in full. We're not even 100% sure if Perry Reese was depicting Antarctica or just assuming there was some landmass there that didn't really exist. Like Hannah mentioned, there's a depiction near the southern tip of South America on the map. Instead of accurately showing the continent's true shape, it bends eastward and takes up a big portion of the map's lower half. Some think it's a mistake, some think it is an early interpretation of Antarctica. Again, it's not shown having ice, contrary to what we know today. Antarctica has been covered in ice for millions of years. It was only ice-free during prehistoric times. So a lot of historians think that what's actually shown on the Perry Reese map is his assumption of what the South American continent might have looked like.
Alright, hear me out for a sec, because there are some theories surrounding how the hell some random man named Perry Reese was able to map the world so accurately in the year 1513 with no aerial views or GPS devices. And of course, one of those theories is aliens, or some kind of advanced ancient civilization that far surpassed the abilities of humans in ancient times and possibly the ability of humans today. Who knows? As I said, the Perry Reese map was discovered in 1929, in the early 20th century, and it is believed to date back to the 16th century, circa 1513. Not only would it have been incredibly difficult to have mapped out Antarctica, an undiscovered continent, back in the 16th century, it was also incredibly hard to do it in 1929 as well. Why? Well, because Antarctica was only discovered in 1820 and it wasn't mapped out until 1983. So what the heck did Perry Reese have that we didn't until 470 years later? Well, perhaps some help from an advanced extraterrestrial being or ancient civilization with access to air travel and advanced mapping technologies. I mean, I know it sounds far-fetched, but like really, how could anyone have created this map back then with no help? I just don't buy it. I don't think he deserves all the credit.
Let's talk more about that theory about a highly advanced but lost ancient civilization creating the map, or at least, giving some of their knowledge and expertise. Along with the maps Perry Reese collected from around the world, he could have had access to ancient maps or texts from lost civilizations who had advanced knowledge of geography and map making. As for what this civilization could have been, I mean, go wild. Obviously, though, Atlantis gets theorized about the most. This could explain why large chunks of the map are missing, or why so much of the information in it predates stuff we only thought became common knowledge many, many years later. Who knows? It may have all gone down with Atlantis. It's a fun idea.
Another interesting thing about the Perry Reese map is that it's possible that some of it was written in code, and therefore there is some of it that we might not understand or may have possibly misinterpreted, meaning there may still be secrets hidden within the map waiting to be uncovered. Only problem is, as I said, only 1/3 of the map has been found to date. So while it is entirely possible that the world comes together and pieces the entire thing back together, with the location of each piece possibly being a clue to cracking the hidden code drawn out on the ancient hide, it's also entirely possible that the secrets of Perry Reese's world map, the second world map, are unfortunately lost to the world forever. Either that or there's actually just no code and no secrets, and the whole thing is just some boring, incredibly accurate, super advanced anomaly, but where's the fun in that?
And, in terms of codes and stuff, there could be another aspect to this, a more symbolic interpretation here. Some hidden meanings to the map other than just geography. Some experts and enthusiasts of the map think that there could be areas drawn or named that might carry meanings more rooted in ancient beliefs or cultural ideas. For example, ancient cities or mythical creatures that are depicted on the map could have represented political power at the time, religious significance, or even navigational clues that were only understood by sailors of that time. The symbols and intricate details on the map has led to some speculation that it might have been more than just a practical tool for navigation. It could have been more of a canvas for expressing knowledge about the world that went beyond what was known publicly. Some even wonder if it might have encoded secrets or esoteric knowledge known to only select groups or societies back then. Who knows?
The Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA, is a device that measures cosmic rays. More specifically, the high-energy neutrinos neutrinos that come off them. Anita floated on a balloon high above the Antarctic ice sheet, gazing at the stars for several years. So imagine the researchers' shock when the instruments meant to read energy coming from the stars detected those same high-energy neutrinos coming up from the Earth. Now, low-energy neutrinos can pass through quite a bit of material, as they are very small and can pass through the gaps in atoms. But high-energy neutrinos have a much larger footprint and are more easily deflected and intercepted. So how did these relatively easy to deflect neutrinos come up through the Earth? Did they pass all the way through, or is there another explanation? Scientists have proposed everything from neutrinos passing all the way through the planet or getting reflected around inside like an inverse disco ball, to a discovery of an entirely new neutrino or even dark matter. However, others think the answer is much more mundane. The neutrinos simply came down from outer space, missing Anita, and then entered the Antarctic ice, where they hit a sort of compacted snow called firn. Firn is between glacial ice and snow, and can have pockets of low or high density, which may allow it to reflect neutrinos back up towards space. Scientists still aren't really sure what's going on though. Next is Shackleton's ship. Ernest Shackleton is one of the great explorers of world history, having made his fame off of the rather disastrous attempt to reach the South Pole with his ship Endurance. It wasn't his first trip to Antarctica, and far from his first time in the cold, but this time the ship got stuck in an ice floe. The crew would spend 2 months on the ice before managing to make an equally long journey to rescue, but the ship was swallowed whole by the floe, and then vanished into the cruel Antarctic Sea. You'd be forgiven for thinking the ship had sunk, totally destroyed, and would never be seen again, but you'd be wrong. In the mid-1960s, another ship went searching for the Endurance, tracing her path, and would get to see a once-in-a-lifetime event. The ice floe heaved, split, and spat forth the Endurance, her hull pushed high into the sky before she was sucked back under the ice and vanished for good. In 2022, researchers would successfully discover the wreckage beneath the ice, scanning it through the crust for a 3D rendering. Being stuck beneath dangerous sea ice 3 kilometers under the surface, it is likely Endurance will remain there for the rest of history. Next is the green crab crisis. Green crab are some of the most successful colonizers in the animal kingdom. Rapidly adaptable, small enough to survive anywhere, often in large numbers, and very successful predators, these crabs can take up roots just about anywhere the water is the right temperature for them to live in. So you might think it's a little silly to bring a whole bunch of them and start farming them off the coast of Chile, and now, several years after that decision was made, we know it was a bad idea. Green crab have been swarming up the Pacific coast of the Americas, devastating several ecosystems. But they also taste delicious, so it isn't too bad. It's not like there's nothing that eats crabs along the Pacific coast anyways, but Antarctica is a different story. For now, the waters are too cold for the green crab to push that far south, but if we know anything about the future, it's that the world's waters will warm more. And as they do, the crabs will slowly flood south, or get picked up and carried in the ballast of ships, and Antarctica will eventually be infested with them. Antarctica is a unique environment, with much less diversity and competition to halt the spread of the green crab, which makes it especially dangerous and vulnerable. So far as we know, Antarctica is currently free of green crab influence, but that may not last long. Next is Totten Glacier. Melting sea ice is one of the greatest threats to the world's oceans. It raises sea levels, decreases salinity, and introduces more cold water than would normally be in the ocean. But recently scientists discovered something even more chilling. A massive glacier field in Antarctica known as the Totten Glacier Catchment, which is under serious threat. The ice field is larger than the more famous West Antarctic ice sheet, and should be less of a threat due to its size and therefore inherent stability, except it isn't stable. Deep sea channels beneath the ice are pumping warm water into the underside of the glacier, encouraging it to melt faster than it should. Should the entire field melt, global sea levels would rise 11 feet, destroying numerous cities around the world. Next is Maud Rise Polynya. The Antarctic ice sheet may look smooth and pristine from the air, but it is absolutely not. It's filled with small holes and cracks which are known as polynya. Polynya are complex and can occur for a vast variety of reasons, often many of which are deeply interconnected. Maud Rise Polynya is, however, one of the largest and most sudden polynyas ever to appear. It practically appeared overnight, like a sudden gash in the ice sheet larger than the country of Wales. Unlike other other polynias which come and go, however, Maud Rise has not shrunk, resealed, or vanished. It's believed that a strong current, strengthened by unusually warm and salty water, encountered the deep-sea mountain of Maud Rise, which then drove this current up its face and into the ice sheet above. This new warm water current is then thought to have pushed the ice apart, opening up this strange and massive gash in the sheet. It's unknown how long the ice will stay this way, but it will likely be for decades if not longer. Then again, with how quickly the world's climate is changing, scientists really can't make any certain predictions. Next is the ice storm. Antarctica is one of the most remote and isolated places on Earth. Only a handful of people are allowed to visit on tours, and even fewer are chosen to live on the continent. So it's no wonder Antarctic ghost stories have a special flavor of terror. In 2016, a small outpost was rocked with a storm, and the 3 occupants were trapped inside the squall. The storm was a big one, set to last weeks, and so the crew hunkered down. It didn't take long for the first cracks to show, even amongst these professional researchers. After a week of complaining of a growing whining and speaking in his head, Mike Leash was eventually scrabbling at the doors, even as his colleagues tried to restrain him and eventually bursted out into the storm. Despite their desire to save his life, none of the crew was going to go out into a zero-visibility Antarctic ice storm, and Mike disappeared. The storm cooled off 2 days later, leaving the world covered in a thick coating of snow. The crew went out to find what happened to Mike, only to see him standing just 100 steps from the front door. When they approached him, though, they were shocked to find it was just his clothes, frozen solid and completely empty of Mike's body. Despite a recovery attempt, Mike was not able to be found. It's thought he may have stripped while hypothermic and then been buried under the snowstorm, but why then would his clothes be standing in place? Something strange happened here. And finally is the Wilkes gravity anomaly. A negative gravity anomaly was detected under the ice of Wilkes Land, and it has scientists stumped. It may sound a little sci-fi, but there are actually gravitational anomalies all over the world, and they can help us discover some pretty interesting things. If the Earth were actually a totally smooth, consistent ball, then gravity would be experienced the same all over the planet. But the Earth isn't smooth, and gravity is not consistent. These gravitational anomalies are small shifts away from the predicted ideal gravitational value, and can be used to find dense ore deposits beneath the Earth's surface. Other things can also cause anomalies though, like caves or caverns where the Earth isn't as dense as it hypothetically should be. A positive anomaly means gravity is stronger than expected there, maybe due to a mountain or dense elements underground, while a negative gravitational anomaly means gravity is weaker than expected. This could be for any number of reasons, but usually an unseen void in the Earth is the culprit. In the case of the Wilkes gravity anomaly, scientists still aren't really sure what's causing it. However, the most plausible theory is that of an old meteor crater that was then frozen over by the ice from the Ice Age. Still, no one is really truly sure what is causing this anomaly.
In 2017, Antarctica saw a dramatic event when a massive hole, roughly the size of Ireland, appeared in its ice. Known as a polynia, this hole, which stretches across 78,000 square kilometers, is the largest of its kind observed since the 1970s and the first to form in 40 years. Located in the Weddell Sea of the Southern Ocean, this giant opening was created by warmer, saltier water from deeper ocean layers rising up and melting the ice above. As this warm water encounters the colder surface water, it cools and sinks only to be reheated and pushed back to the surface in a continuous cycle. While scientists are still puzzling over the exact reasons behind the formation of these giant holes, some suggest they might be used by marine mammals for breathing. Researchers are actively studying these intriguing holes to better understand their formation and impact on the Antarctic environment. In Antarctica's fossil-rich regions, scientists have uncovered remarkably well-preserved remains of ancient forests that date back around 120 million years. These forests thrived when Antarctica was part of the supercontinent continent Gondwana, a far cry from the icy desert it is today. Some imaginative theories suggest these fossilized forests might be remnants of an ancient lost civilization. While these ideas definitely capture the imagination, the current scientific consensus is that these fossils are valuable clues about Antarctica's warmer, greener past when it was home to lush vegetation and diverse ecosystems. Beneath the thick ice sheets of Antarctica lies a hidden marvel, the Gamburtsev Mountains. Stretching over 1,200 kilometers and rising up to 3,000 meters, about a third of the height of Mount Everest, these mountains remain largely concealed under a 2,000 to 4,000 kilometer thick ice layer. Discovered in 1958 by Russian scientists who noticed unusual gravity fluctuations while traveling across Antarctica, these mountains are named after Soviet geophysicist Grigory A. Gamburtsev. Despite never having directly observed these mountains, scientists use radar, gravity, and magnetic readings to study them and uncover their secrets. The Gamburtsevs have long puzzled researchers due to their age, estimated at around 1 billion years, as they should have eroded away over such a long period of time. One prevailing theory suggests that a frozen mantle may be shielding these ancient peaks from the relentless forces of erosion, preserving their grandeur beneath the ice. Antarctica is of course known for its harsh and freezing conditions, and because of this, it is home to some remarkable microorganisms, including a unique species of fungi that thrives in this icy environment. Unlike the fungi you might find in warm, forested areas, these Antarctic fungi have adapted to survive the extreme cold by feeding on the old wooden huts left behind by early explorers. Another intriguing type of fungi in Antarctica has been discovered living off of the petroleum leaks from abandoned fuel containers. This type of fungi is particularly interesting because scientists are exploring its potential for cleaning up larger oil spills around the world. By studying these resilient fungi, researchers hope to harness their capabilities for environmental cleanup and gain insights into how life can adapt to the most extreme conditions on Earth. You might have heard whispers online about mysterious pyramids hidden beneath Antarctica's icy surface. Some theories suggest that these could be ancient structures built by aliens, lost civilizations, or even long-lost explorers. However, before you start picturing an Antarctic version of Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza, let's set the record straight. There is no evidence supporting the existence of man-made pyramids in Antarctica. What some interpret as pyramids are actually natural mountain formations. In 2016, satellite images highlighted a particularly striking peak in the Ellsworth Mountains, which sparked headlines and speculation, but experts confirm that these so-called pyramids are simply just impressive examples of glacial horns, shaped by natural geological processes over a millennia. While the name pyramid does appear in several official Antarctic mountain names, these are just descriptive of their shapes and not evidence of hidden ancient architecture. In early 2017, a satellite image of Antarctica sparked a flurry of excitement and speculation online when it appeared to show what some claimed was a giant staircase. Posted on a conspiracy theory forum where all the craziest information is, the image led to wild theories suggesting it could be an alien landing site. While some jumped to extraterrestrial conclusions, others proposed more plausible explanations, such as a glitch in the camera or snow formations. Despite the buzz, skeptics pointed out that the image lacked specific coordinates and could be a natural anomaly like snow dunes or ridges. Researchers and experts generally attribute such formations to natural processes rather than mysterious or alien origins, but the image certainly added another intriguing layer to the many conspiracy theories surrounding Antarctica. For this one, instead of just taking a look at this strange structure, we are climbing it. Well, Not we, but someone did. In January 2013, a team of climbers and filmmakers, including Leo Holding, Sean Leary, Jason Pickles, Chris Rabone, and Alistair Lee, tackled a new route up the northeast ridge of Ulvitana in Antarctica's Fenrisk-Jeften Range. This 35-pitch route, stretching 1,750 meters, was the fourth ascent of Ulvitana, the highest peak in the range, known for its striking spire-like shape. Arriving on December 22nd, the team set up a festive base camp before spending 10 challenging days scaling the ridge through difficult 5.12 A2 terrain. Despite extreme cold, with temperatures dropping to -35 degrees Celsius and even a severe snowstorm, they reached the summit on January 24th. Although they had initially planned to base jump from the peak, dangerous weather conditions led them to descend via traditional methods. The team's adventure, marked by intense climbing and harsh conditions, was captured in a film and celebrated as a major achievement in Antarctic climbing. The Hollow Earth theory is like something straight out of a sci-fi adventure, suggesting that beneath Antarctica's icy crust lies a gateway to a colossal, hollow world. Imagine a hidden realm, complete with its own advanced civilization, ecosystems, and maybe even mystical creatures, all tucked away in Earth's hollow core. Although this theory captures the imagination and has inspired countless stories in speculative fiction, it doesn't necessarily hold up under scientific scrutiny. Geologists and researchers firmly argue that our planet is solid with a layered structure, not a giant empty sphere. But I've never been, so maybe one day. I don't know. I'm not going to the center of the Earth. I'm not Josh Hutcherson. Despite its freezing temperatures, Antarctica is home to several volcanoes, including 4 on Ross Island. While most of these volcanoes are dormant, Mount Erebus stands out as the world's southernmost active volcano and Antarctica's second highest peak, reaching 3,800 meters. Over the past 30 years, Mount Erebus has shown increased volcanic activity, featuring a remarkable landscape of liquid magma and ancient lava lakes that have been boiling for about 1.3 million years. Due to its remote location and harsh weather, access to Mount Erebus is definitely limited, but a team of scientists managed to climb it in 2013. They braved snow, rocks, and glaciers to reach the summit, where they discovered life thriving in the volcano's heat, including microorganisms living in ice caves and soil. These extreme conditions make these organisms some of the most unique and resilient in the entire world. Beneath Antarctica's thick ice sheet lies Lake Vostok, an enormous subglacial lake that remains hidden from view and has intrigued scientists for years. This vast lake, which is roughly the size of Lake Ontario, sits under miles of ice and is home to unique microbial life that thrives in extreme conditions. Because Lake Vostok has been isolated from the rest of the world for millions of years, its environment has led to some fascinating theories. Scientists speculate that the lake could harbor hidden ecosystems or even unknown forms of life adapted to its extreme conditions. The discovery of these extremophiles, microorganisms that survive in such harsh environments, fuels excitement and curiosity, hinting at the possibility of life forms that could exist in other extreme environments, possibly even ones beyond our own planet.
And we're kicking off this list with pyramids. So a couple years back, satellite images revealed a mysterious triangular formation in Antarctica's desolate landscape. When the images hit social media, debates and speculations about the origin of this quote-unquote pyramid began. The pyramid shape appeared in satellite images of the Ellsworth mountain range located in the southern reaches of Antarctica. It seemed to have a striking resemblance to the dimensions of Egypt's iconic Great Pyramid of Giza, measuring 2 kilometers in each direction from its square base. And as these images circulated on social media platforms, the conspiracy theories began to flow. Now, scientists attribute these formations to natural processes and optical illusions, but perhaps there's a deeper secret being hidden from us in the cold, inhospitable terrain of Antarctica. Was there some ancient civilization that used to call the South Pole home? Did a group of beings from somewhere beyond our planet construct it? I don't know, I'm just here to ask the important questions. And now I'm here to tell you that if you are liking our channel so far, if you're new here, why not hit that subscribe button? We have awesome videos coming at you on the daily, plenty to see. Don't miss out. Do that right now. Next up, we have the ANITA discovery. The Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA, is a sophisticated scientific tool in the form of a high-tech balloon operated by NASA, floating above Antarctica. Its mission is to track subatomic particles generated by the interactions of high-energy neutrinos entering Earth's atmosphere from the depths of space. But a few years ago, ANITA made a strange discovery. It detected neutrinos seemingly originating from beneath the Earth's surface, quite the departure from its intended function of capturing spaceborne neutrinos. One of the more fun hypotheses behind this is that these detected particles may be signs of a possible parallel universe where the fundamental laws of our own universe might operate in complete reverse. Now, this is really just speculative, but it's a pretty fascinating idea. Scientists were pretty perplexed by these findings, and as of right now, there still isn't a definitive explanation. At number 8, we have the Ross Island haunting. Ross Island is not only home to the McMurdo Station, a hub for scientific research, it also harbors something much darker. It's rumored to be haunted. There was a tragic plane crash on the island in 1979, and this crash claimed the lives of 257 people. Over the years, visitors to Ross Island have reported unsettling occurrences describing ghostly footsteps echoing in the icy darkness and mysterious voices that seem to emanate from nowhere. Some claim to have come face to face with full-on apparitions, believing to be the restless spirits of the plane crash victims, wandering the frigid snow-covered landscape for eternity. The haunting stories surrounding Ross Island have continued to be passed down through generations of Antarctic explorers and researchers. Number 7, the UFO crash landing. In 2018, an ex-Navy SEAL who had worked in the South Pole revealed some intriguing information to an investigative journalist named Linda Moulton Howe about an alien structure he once visited. He wished to remain anonymous as this information was highly classified. In August of 2003, this individual and his team had been tasked with a highly classified objective under the guise of a research reconnaissance mission. They arrived at their destination where they found a large dark structure protruding from the ice. There were doors on it, these big square slabs cut into the structure that when you push on kind of receded into the building, opening up into this long hallway. The inside of the structure was lit green by an unknown source, and adorning the walls were strange hieroglyphics. But they didn't resemble any hieroglyphics seen here on Earth. This is a pretty outlandish story. Impossible to prove, but hard to discredit completely because it's just hearsay, really, but it is fascinating. Plus, Antarctica is one of the most unpopulated places on Earth. It would be a good spot for little green men from space to operate without the presence of prying eyes. So let's stay on the topic of UFOs for a minute and discuss another possible UFO crash landing in Antarctica, this time spotted with satellite images. YouTube channel Secure Team 10 shared a video back in 2018 zooming close in on a small island just off the coast of Antarctica, which seemed to show a long, sharp mark in the snow as if something had crashed and then skidded along. Now, this island has the exact same environment as Antarctica. It seems to be a piece of it that broke off and floated away. So it's inhospitable, totally void of people. So what is this object? The narrator describes it as cigar-shaped, covered by mounds of snow. Whatever the object is, it's also very large, and the trail it left behind is almost 1,000 meters long. The trail behind this mysterious object leads to a mountain, and there's debris that seems to have been pushed out at the base. It looks like as if the object flew down and crashed into the mountain before skidding along the ice where it now sits. Part of me thinks there could have been an avalanche or something on the mountain, and maybe this is just a piece of rock that slid out extra far. I don't know. What do you all think, though? At number 5, we have Scott's Hut. Back to the haunted realm now. In 1911, 25 men led by Sir Robert Scott departed from this hut in Cape Evans on an expedition to the South Pole. An expedition they would never return from. The hut now stands just as it did all those years ago. There are belongings laying around, scientific equipment, even the frozen penguins the group had been studying remain on the outside of the hut. It's almost completely frozen in time. And as intriguing as it would be to give this place a visit, staff and visitors do claim to have an odd feeling when stepping inside it. There's a sadness about the place, an emptiness, a place that was so full of life, with daring explorers about to begin an epic journey, never to come back. Only maybe they did come back. It's no surprise that with an eerie history like that, some folks believe the hut to be haunted. Ghostly whispers, shadowy figures, a sense of not being alone. These are just some of the things guests have reported during their visits. Number 4, the giant hole. In 2017, researchers in Antarctica observed a massive polynya, a large area of open water within the sea ice, suddenly appearing. It was already massive, but things got even crazier when the polynya expanded at an unprecedented rate, increasing in size by more than 8 times within just a few weeks. The discovery was made in Weddell Sea, an area known for its harsh freezing conditions. Polynyas are not uncommon in Antarctica, but their sudden and substantial growth is a more rare occurrence. That puzzled the researchers. These gaps in the ice are usually maintained by complex processes, ocean currents, temperature variations, but the rapid expansion of this particular one challenged existing scientific understanding. Researchers and climate experts were left with a series of questions. What was causing this rapid expansion? Was it related to climate change, natural variability, or some other unknown factor? And the scientific community set out to study this event with the use of satellite imagery, ocean sensors, and computer models. But the prevailing theory is that the polynya was caused by intense cyclones. Alright, next let's talk about all the military presence in Antarctica. What's going on there? Let's start by going all the way back to World War II. There have been rumors for decades that Mr. H himself, the dictator of Germany, might have established a covert base in Antarctica. As for what they were doing there are lots of rumors, but the SS were super into mysticism and the occult, always in pursuit of ancient artifacts that they believed had powers that could aid in their conquest. Pretty wild, but maybe they were after something hidden somewhere in the frozen tundra. After the war in 1946 and 47, the US sent a huge fleet to Antarctica, and many believe that they had been tasked with destroying this secret German base. As for more contemporary military activities, who knows what's going on? Just imagine vast hidden research facilities buried beneath the ice, or cutting-edge technology being tested in the harshest conditions imaginable. Conspiracies suggest everything from advanced weaponry to secretive scientific experiments related to climate change or extraterrestrial phenomena. Who knows? And number 2 is Deception Island. Deception Island, nestled in the icy expanse of Antarctica, holds a chilling history that goes beyond its freezing temperatures. Once a bustling whalers station, remnants of this grim past still linger in the form of whale bones strewn across some of its beaches, a reminder of an industry that relentlessly hunted these beautiful creatures. When the Great Depression hit and oil prices plummeted, the whalers station was abandoned, only to be repurposed later as a British World War II base. Now today, visitors to Whalers Bay, a landing site on this island, have shared tales of their experiences. Some have reported witnessing eerie apparitions, strange orbs of light. Some have even claimed to hear disembodied voices echoing across the ice. In 2009, when the crew of the American TV show Destination Truth ventured to the bay, they captured unexplained bangs and the unsettling sight of a shadowy figure roaming among the decaying ruins. The crew even captured a thermal signature in a window and an SOS signal emanating from one of the abandoned shacks. But finally, we have the theory that Atlantis could have been located deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. According to Plato, Atlantis was this advanced civilization that mysteriously vanished overnight. Now, when we think of Atlantis, we usually picture it in the sunny Mediterranean, not, buried under all that ice down south. But here's the twist. Antarctica wasn't always an icy wasteland. Millions of years ago, it had forests and a much milder climate. So some folks propose that Atlantis could have existed in Antarctica before it froze over, or some other ancient civilization. They point to satellite images showing peculiar shapes under the ice, speculating that these could be remnants of the lost city. We already talked about a pyramid earlier. That could have something to do with it. Scientists, though, of course, remain skeptical. They've been studying Antarctica for years, haven't found any concrete evidence to support this idea, but it's fun to think about. Could that pyramid shape, again, possibly play into this? Who knows?
Starting us off at number 10, we have Deception Island. In 1906, a Norwegian-Chilean whaling company started using Whalers Bay as a base for their factory ship. Other operations followed closely behind them, and then the next thing you know, a boomtown was born. But then, by just 1931, after a sweeping decline in the market for whale oil due to the Great Depression, the island was abandoned. Since then, it has quite literally become a ghost town, with visitors reporting seeing strange orbs of light coming from the abandoned huts, seeing apparitions of people walking around, and even hearing disembodied voices. So while the South Pole remains a harsh land with no official permanent population, it seems that ghosts who are unaffected by what makes the South Pole so difficult to endure have settled in and haunt all those who try to enter their domain. Next up at number 9, Wordie Hut. Although it's named after James Wordie, who was the chief scientist for Sir Edmund Shackleton's endurance expedition in 1914, the Wordie Hut was built much later in 1947. For years, it had been rumored to be haunted by terrifying spirits, and after several reports, a group of paranormal researchers from Destination Truth decided to see for themselves and spend a night in the hut. When they arrived, they were immediately taken back by the energy of the cabin. They knew that something was there. That night, members of the team heard frantic flipping of light switches and slamming doors from rooms where no one was staying. Jars began falling off the shelves all on their own, and after their one-night stay, they left completely creeped out. Now, I always think a telling tale of if some place is truly scary is when paranormal investigators, people whose job is literally to investigate creepy stuff, get scared and don't want to come back. Well, even so, visitors have checked it out since, but all reported similar events that chilled them to the bone and have never returned. Next up at number 8, the ghost ship of Jenny. Thought to have been abandoned in port in 1823, this ship was thought to be lost forever. That was until a whaling ship made a horrifying discovery a few years later, back in 1840. As the legend goes, Jenny had gotten stuck in the ice while on its expedition, and no one knew where it had ended up or what had happened to the crew aboard. That was until the whaling ship discovered them, and believing it to be the legendary Jenny, decided to go on board to check out what might still be on it. When they made their way onto the ship, they were horrified to find all the bodies frozen solid and perfectly preserved by the ice. Allegedly, the crew found a note they believed to be written by the captain that read, May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. While some believe it's just folklore, others swear by the tale, claiming all the sailors of Jenny haunt the boat to this day. Coming in at number 7, Mountains of Madness. While Antarctica may be one of the most haunted places in the world, it is also home to some breathtaking scenery. But the Mountains of Madness kind of fall into the first category. Officially called the Gamburtsev mountain range, they are roughly the size of the Alps, but there is one catch. No one has ever seen them. But how could that be, I am sure you are wondering? Well, back in the 1950s, a group group of Russian explorers discovered there were strange gravity fluctuations coming from below the ice. After a bit of sleuthing, they discovered the fluctuations to be from an entire subglacial mountain range hidden below 3 miles of ice. First of all, the fact that there is 3-mile deep ice is enough of a reason for me to never want to go there, but I digress. Scientists have compared it to studying another planet, which to some might be exciting, but to others they feel it's terrifying. No one knows what kind of life could be under there, what could have been preserved there for the last 250 million years. And some have even said they've felt a strange presence when they are near. Coming in at number 6, Shackleton's Hut. Antarctica is mainly a destination visited by scientists and explorers, but considering many of the early explorers died while on these trips, it also makes a lot of sense as to why they are all haunted. And one man who claimed to be a non-believer of ghosts would return from his trip thinking much differently. His name was Sir Edmund Hillary, and he was a New Zealand mountaineer and explorer who in 1953, along with his Sherpa, was the first known person to reach the summit of Mount Everest. So after conquering the mountain, he was looking for another adventure and sought out the South Pole 5 years later. When he arrived, he stayed in Sir Ernest Shackleton's abandoned hut from his famous endurance expedition. And when he was there, he claims to have seen Shackleton's ghost walk towards him and welcome him to the hut before vanishing right in front of his eyes. Ever since, it's been known as a paranormal hotspot, and many who visit leave terrified by what they see. Next up at number 5, Scott's Hut. During the early 1900s, there was a huge race to be the first country to reach the South Pole. Then in 1911, explorer Robert Falcon Scott and his team set out on a mission against Norway, later called the Terra Nova Expedition, to do just that. While many explorers, Scott included, had explored Antarctica, none had managed to reach the pole, and so the race was on. A hut was pre-constructed in Britain that was brought over as a base camp for the crew, and they set up near the Great Ice Barrier. Eventually, it was decided some of the men would stay behind with supplies and shelter, and the rest of the team would venture out further. But sadly, their mission was ultimately a bust, as by the time they reached the pole, the Norwegian flag had already been planted. So the men turned around to head back, but sadly due to frostbite, starvation, and disease, the men died off one by one and never made their return. Those that have visited the hut today claim to hear strange voices and footsteps all around the cabin. Apparently, the minute you walk in, you feel as though you're being watched, and some even swear they've seen the ghosts of Scott and his men lurk inside. Next up at number 4, Ross Island. Home to one of the most recognized research stations across the continent, it's also the site of a devastating plane crash that left the island drowning in lost spirits. Back in 1977, New Zealand began operating sightseeing trips via plane over Antarctica, but in 1979, a true disaster would strike. Though exactly what happened is unknown, somehow the computer directing the flight got rerouted, and instead of taking its usual trip, it ended up flying dangerously close to a nearby mountain. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, the plane crashed, instantly killing all 257 passengers and crew members on board. Today, those that visit the island claim to hear unsettling voices in the darkness, as well as strange ghostly footsteps. Some say they have even seen what they believe to be the flight victims wandering around the frigid landscape, eerily moaning and crying at night. So while there may be some beautiful places to visit, you might want to steer clear of this haunted island altogether. Coming in at number 3, a Soviet military base. Back in 2009, scientists passing through the icy scape came across a strange and concerning discovery. While exploring what's called the Pole of Inaccessibility, which is the point furthest from the sea in Antarctica, the group found a random monument with a bust of Vladimir Lenin perched on top. Now, if you don't know who that is or why that's a little bit creepy, let me explain. Vladimir Lenin was the founder of the Soviet Union and first head of government under the new regime. It was under his ruling that Russia became a one-party communist state. So upon discovering his lone bust in the middle of nowhere, the scientists decided it might be a good idea to keep exploring. After After some digging, they happened upon an old Soviet military base that was covered by mountains of snow, and they realized that the bust was facing the direction of Moscow. Now, no one knows how long the bust has been there, and even creepier, no one knows why it's there. But many suspect that it might be the place where Lenin was buried back in 1924, and it's thought that his ghost may still haunt the area to this day. Coming in at number 2, Mount Erebus. Mount Erebus is the southernmost volcano on Earth, and it's still very much active. Some like to refer to it as the place where fire meets ice, as while inside the mountain it's swirling with molten hot magma, the outside remains frozen solid and is surrounded by ice caves. And while that might sound super cool, it is also the site of the infamous Ross Island plane crash that I already spoke about, and so it's littered with ghosts seeking revenge for having their lives taken too soon. And while many of the spirits are known to roam around the entire island, frightening visitors at every chance, some of the spirits are stuck in the place that took their lives. Some say that if you walk past the mountain, you can still hear the screams of the victims who lost their lives to the crash. And last up, in our number 1 spot, we have the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage may just be the most well-known part of all of Antarctica, but probably not for a good reason. Widely considered the most powerful convergence of seas, the Drake Passage is the point where the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean converge with the southern seas, and it is notorious for its treacherous waters. It's a great feat for anyone to even dare to cross it, and it's estimated over the years that more than 1,000 people have died attempting to pass through its terrifying and turbulent waves. Many believe that all who have lost their lives to the passage remain, haunting the waters to warn those that attempt the feat to turn back. Or maybe they're trying to bring you into their realm with them. Either way, it's best to stay far, far, far away, because even if the ghosts don't get you, the waves almost certainly will.